Well, this here is the all-new Nissan Magnite. Now, I've already shown you the first look video of this car, so I'll not show you the exteriors again and do a walk around. If you haven't seen that video, you can of course search for it on our channel. But what I will tell you today is how is this car to drive. So we'll reverse this video around and talk about the driving bits first. We'll of course talk to you about this 1-liter turbocharged petrol engine, and of course this is the one which is really the powerful unit. It's the only engine, of course. It comes with a turbo and without a turbo. Now this car of course is in a segment which is heavily contested. It comes with 8 other rivals. Which are the 8 rivals and which one is your favorite car in this segment? You can let me know in the comments section below. But before starting this video, here's a quick message from our sponsors Boodmo.com. After that, we'll jump inside the car and talk to you about the driving bits and how new Magnite is to drive. Let's get started. Now, what is Boodmo? Well, Boodmo, as you might be aware by now, is the online expert in terms of spare parts. If you want a spare part for your vehicle, they have it in their list. They have the most extensive spare parts catalog, right from the most affordable small car to the top of the line luxury car, you name the car, and they have the spare parts for it. And the best point is that they have the spare parts from a host of different component makers and different price segments for the same spare part. So if you want to buy a cheaper part from a different maker or a more expensive part from a different component maker, they have the option for you. And they also promise you 10 days assured return without any hassle. If you don't like the spare part, you can send it back and they'll return all the money to you in the first 10 days. So Boodmo.com is the name of the website. You can check them out on your iOS as well as Android devices as well. Well, so here I'm driving the new Nissan Magnite. Now this car, remember, comes with a 1-liter turbocharged petrol engine. You can of course get it without the turbo also if you want a slightly cheaper version of the car, and you can choose between automatic gearbox and a manual gearbox. Now the turbo version that we're driving today is nice to drive. It does respond from relatively low RPM of about 1516 RPM. It only starts to become a little noisy after 3,500 RPM. Yes, it is a little more noisier than its main rival, the Hyundai Venue. So that's something which you have to notice. The Venue and the Sonnet with 1-liter turbocharged engines are a little more refined, a little quieter inside the cabin. But that's quite okay because it's well within acceptable noise levels from this car. Where you will really like this car though is the overall ride comfort. Yes, the ride comfort on this car is truly exemplary. It's one of the better cars to ride inside the cabin, and it just soaks in the bumps very well. So if you're going over those rumble strips, those badly patched roads, those expansion joints, this car will keep you very comfortable. In fact, it's so comfortable and so cushiony inside the cabin that you'll never have to slow down for those badly made expansion joints or those rumble strips. Really is that good. At faster speeds also, this car remains relatively stable, and it's a decent package for highway travel as well. It's only the steering wheel which could have done with a little more feedback. It's decent. It's an overtly light steering wheel, so people who drive themselves in the city will not need too much effort to use it, and they'll really appreciate the steering wheel. But for people who drive a lot on the highways, they would have definitely preferred a little more feedback from the steering wheel. It's decent, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but yes, since we are of course driving this car today, we'll have to compare it with some of its rivals, and in that sense it could have done with a little more feedback. What you will like about the car also is the visibility. Visibility all across is really very good. You get excellent visibility from the rear view mirrors over here. The front view is quite good because seats are nicely set up, and the view from the back also is quite good because the windows and this mirror over here is nice and large. The engine, as I said, is quite responsive from about 1516 RPM, and you of course can choose an automatic gearbox, which is a CVT, and you can choose a 5-speed manual gearbox. The CVT does have that rubber band effect on it. It does tend to become a little bit, when you push the revs mount, but the speeds don't rise that quickly, so that effect is there. The manual gearbox is decent to operate as well, and the throws are quite okay and add power with most rivals. It's not the slickest gearbox in the segment, and definitely it's not as slick as maybe even the Nissan Kicks, which is a slightly more expensive car. That gearbox is quite decent in operation and well within acceptable limits. Now these cars aren't meant to be taken on the racetrack, and you shouldn't do that also, but body roll is quite decent from this car, and it is well within acceptable limits. And overall, as a package, I reckon that you will truly appreciate the ride as well as comfort that this car has to offer. That's one area where this car truly does stand out from a sea of other compact SUVs out there. Overall, what is my verdict with the new Nissan Magnite? Well, I reckon that even though it's not as flashy to look at from the inside or the outside, as some of its rivals, and it doesn't have that same kind of feature list that the Kia Sonet now offers. For sheer comfort, for sheer value, and for a responsive and peppy petrol engine, this is quite a good car, and definitely it's a car which you should keep in your shortlist if you're in the market for a compact SUV. And I reckon that Nissan has done a relatively good job with your packaging this car. Well, so I'm inside the cabin of the new Nissan Magnite. Now, let's talk about some positives first. The big positive, of course, is that the quality is at par with other rivals. There's no cost cutting in terms of the quality. You get good quality materials over here on top of the dashboard, good quality over here on top of the door panel. And the door panels also have nice fabric integrated into them. So it gives you a sense of luxury inside this car's cabin. But also, as to a sense of luxury, of course, are the seats. The seat cushioning is really spot on. Support for your under thighs is very good. Support for your lower back is very good. And it's a nice car to be in terms of seat comfort, in terms of quality. What you'll also like, of course, is a huge touchscreen. It's not the biggest in the segment. The Sonet now is the biggest, but this one also is quite decent. It comes with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and of course you can use all those features via Bluetooth. You don't have to connect it via wire, and you also get a pad here for your wireless charging for your mobile phone. So that's something which is very good. In terms of the practicality, you get a huge glove box. It's one of the biggest that I've seen on any car in any segment. It's one of the biggest really. So if you are on the highway, then you don't have to stop again and again to get that water bottle. Let me just close it properly for you. And of course you get a huge wireless charging pad over here. You also get a big tray where you can keep your sunglasses and other paraphernalia. And of course you get a couple of beverage holders right over here, right next to the handbrake, and the door bins are large enough to have those big water bottles from your home. Now, talking about some negatives, because there are a couple of negatives as well. This armrest over here doesn't open up. That's a very big miss, because in all other cars the armrest over here opens up to keep a lot of Diet Coke cans. And the gauges also, even though they have a lot of information in them, they have the tire pressure monitors, distance to empty, and that kind of stuff in it. They look very busy. They're digital, but they look too busy and aren't as attractive as some of the other rivals. And one key feature which Nissan hasn't put in this car is a sunroof, because all other cars now in this segment do offer it. So Nissan and Maruti Suzuki with the Vitara Brezza are the only two cars now which don't have a sunroof in the compact SUV segment. So that's a bit of a miss as well, because a lot of buyers buy their cars just for the sunroof. Anyways, apart from that, in terms of comfort, quality and features, it's quite a good place to be in, and I'll give it a respectable score of 8 out of 10. Now let's jump in the back seat and see how good that really is. Well, so I'm inside the back seat now of the Nissan Magnite. Now this car really is very impressive in terms of space on offer, because it's a relatively compact car on the outside. It's under 4 meters, and Nissan really has done a good job in terms of space utilization. Knee room is more than sufficient. The front seats have been raised so you can stretch your feet over there. Headroom also is more than generous. So if you're about 6'1", 6'2", you should be quite okay in these seats. I'm about 5'10", so for me these seats are quite good. The seat squab also is quite good. The support for your under thighs is good. Support for your lower back is good. And the backrest angle also is at a nice angle, so you really do feel very comfortable. You also get an armrest with a couple of beverage holders and a small place rather, where you can keep your cell phone or wallet. AC vents as well as a 12-volt charging point are standard, and the floorboard also is almost flat, so whoever's sitting in the middle has plenty of place to stretch his feet. So really no complaints in the back seat of the Nissan Magnite. It's really a very nice place to be. You also get your own pockets over here behind the backrest of the front seat, so you can easily put in those files, your cell phone and stuff like that, other paraphernalia. And really, if you are someone who just wants a chauffeur driven car, then this is a very nice place to be in. Full marks to Nissan for the back seat of the Magnite. Now let's see how big the boot of this car really is. Well, so the boot on the Nissan Magnite is slightly smaller than its main rivals, the Nexon, the Venue and the Sonet, and even the Brezza and the EcoSport. But in isolation, it's quite a decent boot. The shape and size is quite good. It's a square boot, so you can load in those stuff without any issues. There's a bit of a loading sill over here, but it's not too much, and you can easily lift stuff over it. But what should be the overall score we should give the boot? I reckon we should give it a respectable score of 8 out of 10. And in fact, smaller boots are definitely better if your mother-in-law is coming from the airport, because you can always tell her, well, my car doesn't have a big boot, so don't get too much stuff and don't stay with us for 15 days. 5 days is more than sufficient. Well, so the Magnite comes across as a very comfortable car for sheer space in the back seat, for ride comfort, and also offers you decent list of features. But the biggest strength of this car is going to be the entry point, because the costing and the price is going to be very attractive. So it might not have that long list of features, those fancy gizmos that some of its rivals offer, and it also might not have an option of engines, a lot of engine options like the Kia Sonet or the Hyundai Venue. But that said, in terms of the pricing, in terms of overall space and comfort, and in terms of the ride comfort, this is quite a capable car. And I reckon that you should definitely keep it in your short list and consider buying this car at a Nissan dealership. So bye for now, and thanks for watching.